What if I told you that Oscar Piastri has just revealed that his own McLaren can launch a totally unpredictable power peak? Right at the worst possible moment, with no room for reaction and with a real risk of ending up against the wall? And all this caused by an improvement inspired by Scuderia Ferrari that could define the future of Formula One in 2026. Oscar Piastri's message is not just another statement within the paddock, it is a direct warning that exposes one of the greatest hidden weaknesses of McLaren's current project. And the most worrying thing is the context in which it arrives, because we are not talking about a team in crisis, but about a team that has just consolidated itself as one of the references after its evolution since the previous season, where they had already demonstrated an impressive capacity for development and sustained growth against historical giants. Precisely for this reason, Piastri breaking the internal discourse and publicly exposing these problems completely changes the perception of what is happening within the team. The Australian has been extremely clear when describing what he feels inside the car, talking about unexpected power peaks that appear at critical moments, especially at corner exit or when he needs to maintain stability following another car. This is not a minor detail or pending fine-tuning, it is a characteristic that directly affects the driver's confidence, and in Formula One, when a driver cannot anticipate the car's response, he is constantly on the verge of making a mistake without having done anything wrong. That feeling of unpredictability is the worst nightmare for any driver, because it eliminates the margin of control and turns each lap into an unknown. The most shocking thing is that this problem is not theoretical, it has already had real consequences. Piastri experienced it firsthand when a completely unexpected power spike ended up sending him against the wall before even starting the race, showing that the problem not only affects performance, but also the driver's safety. These types of situations make it clear that McLaren is working with a concept that is not yet completely mastered, and that any small variation can have a disproportionate impact on the car's behavior. And this is where Piastri's message becomes even more powerful, because it is not just about describing a failure, but about exposing an uncomfortable reality. The MCL40 is fast, yes, but it is also unpredictable. And when a driver starts talking in these terms, it means that the problem has already crossed the line between technical and critical, because it has directly affected the way the car drives on the track. This is where everything changes, because the problem that Oscar Piastri describes cannot be understood without analyzing the technical root that is causing it. McLaren's commitment to a blown exhaust concept that, although promising on paper, is pushing the MCL40 into an extremely delicate area of behavior. This evolution does not arise by chance. It was born as a direct response to the trend that Scuderia Ferrari has set with its own approach towards 2026. Where exhaust gases cease to be a simple byproduct of the engine and become an active aerodynamic tool capable of modifying the airflow in the most critical area of the car. The objective is clear. Use these gases to energize the diffuser, increase rear load and stabilize the car in highly demanding conditions. But what in theory should provide stability, in practice is generating a side effect that is much more difficult to control. The interaction between power delivery and aerodynamic flow becomes so sensitive that any variation in the system can cause sudden changes in the car's behavior. That is, you are not only managing power, you are managing how that power directly affects aerodynamic balance in real time. And this is where what Piastri is denouncing fits perfectly, because these power peaks are not simply electrical or mechanical, they are altering the way the car sticks to the asphalt. When the system responds unexpectedly, the car can gain or lose rear load in milliseconds, and that, at Formula One speeds, is practically impossible to correct. What should be a technical advantage becomes a double-edged sword, where each potential improvement comes with equal or greater risk. McLaren, in its attempt to get ahead of the regulatory future, is exploring a limit that is not yet fully understood. And that explains why the car can be extremely competitive at certain times, but at the same time become unpredictable at others. It's a very narrow performance window where everything works perfectly, until it doesn't. And when that happens, as happened to Piastri, the consequences are not a simple loss of time, but a direct impact that can end the race in a matter of seconds. The most revealing thing about this whole situation is not only the technical problem or the complexity of the system, but the position that Oscar Piastri has decided to adopt in this scenario. Because far from remaining an internal criticism or isolated comments, the Australian has gone a step further, taking this issue directly to the center of the debate with the bodies that regulate the category. This completely changes the dimension of the problem, since it stops being an exclusive issue for McLaren and becomes a warning sign about the direction that Formula One is taking in this new era. Piastri is putting on the table something that many within the paddock probably already feel but do not express with the same clarity. The cars are reaching a level of complexity where the driver begins to lose real control over what happens. And this is key because historically Formula One has always been a balance between machine and talent. But when that balance is broken and technology introduces unpredictable behaviors, the role of the driver is compromised. It's not just a question of adaptation, it's a question of limits. In this context, the indirect influence of Scuderia Ferrari becomes even more relevant, because its approach to the blown exhaust concept has set a direction that other teams, such as McLaren, are trying to follow or reinterpret. But what Piastri is making clear is that that path can have consequences that go beyond pure performance. If development continues along this line without absolute control of these systems, the category could face a situation where innovation exceeds the management capacity of both the teams and the drivers themselves. And this is where the message becomes really powerful, because it's not a complaint, it's a warning. Piastri is anticipating a possible structural problem in modern Formula One, where each technical advance opens up new opportunities, but also new risks that are not yet fully understood. McLaren is at the center of that experiment, pushing the limits, seeking advantage, but also exposing the cracks in a system that can become uncontrollable if not regulated in time. What we are seeing is not just the development of a piece, it is the beginning of a debate that can define what the cars of 2026 will be like and what the true role of the driver within them will be. And if there is one thing clear, it is that when a driver like Piastri speaks in these terms, it is because the situation has already reached a point where it cannot be ignored. From this point on, the scenario becomes even more tense because McLaren not only has to decide if this blown exhaust concept is viable, but when and how to continue developing it without compromising the car's immediate performance. And this is where internal pressure begins to play a determining role, because while Oscar Piastri is exposing the risks and lack of control, the team continues to bet on a technical line that could be key for the future. This contradiction creates a direct conflict between what the car could become and what it currently is on the track. The problem is that in Formula One there is no luxury of time. Each Grand Prix is a constant evaluation, and with the calendar moving towards key events, any technical decision has immediate consequences in the fight for the championship. McLaren is in an extremely delicate position because if it decides to continue pushing this concept, it needs to do it quickly and with absolute precision, but if it decides to take a step back, it could lose the potential advantage against teams that are already working in the same direction, especially considering the influence that Scuderia Ferrari has had on these types of solutions. In addition, there is a factor that further aggravates the situation: the adaptation of the pilot. It's not just about fixing the car, but finding a way for Piastri to trust him again. Because an unpredictable car not only affects performance on a fast lap, it affects decision-making, aggressiveness in overtaking, and above all, consistency in the race. And when a driver begins to hesitate in milliseconds, that lost time is multiplied lap after lap. Therefore, this act represents the turning point, where McLaren must decide if this path is truly sustainable or if they are forcing an innovation that is not yet ready to compete at the highest level. What is at stake is not just a technical improvement, it is the stability of the entire project, the confidence of its pilots and their ability to stay in the fight against the best. Oscar Piastri's message is not something that can be taken lightly or passed off as a simple momentary criticism. It is the clearest sign so far that Formula One is entering a field where technical innovation can begin to overcome the control capacity of both the teams and the drivers themselves. McLaren has decided to take a risk. It has decided to get ahead of what could make a difference in 2026, following a line similar to that opened by Scuderia Ferrari, but in that attempt it is facing an uncomfortable reality. Not everything that provides performance is automatically manageable. The MCL 40 perfectly represents this duality, a car with enormous potential, capable of competing at the highest level, but at the same time with behavior that can become unpredictable in a matter of milliseconds. And when that limit is crossed, as happened to Piastri, the consequences are not progressive, they are immediate and forceful. This leaves a much deeper reflection on where the category is headed, because if these types of developments become the norm, the margin for error will almost completely disappear. The really important thing is that this is not just a McLaren problem, it is a preview of what can come. Piastri, without seeking it, has become the voice that exposes a possible breaking point in modern Formula One, where technology no longer only makes a difference, but can also put human control inside the car in check. And if a balance is not found, what is a technical advantage today could end up completely redefining the sport in the years to come. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.